What bands you digging, Groovy Cat?
And Deep Purple used to say, turn everything up. Louder. Do you know they were monitored as the loudest band in history?
I thought The Who was.
Nah. Deep Purple. Crazy. Live in Japan is probably one of the greatest live albums ever produced and made. Gotta listen to it. The music that they were on that night, just like they were on at Led Zeppelin were on at Sydney. Led Zeppelin say Sydney was probably their best concert ever. So they were really on that day too. And a lot of people didn't dig them because you know what? They didn't play like the record. So people were expecting to hear the record and trying to relate to it from memory. But music is now. So you listen to the music now. It's got nothing to do with, you can relate to the song, but they improvised. Every time they played it, it was different, you know? So, you know, that's what was so good about it for me. Yeah, you know, like in this Dazed and Confused, they go down, 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 down. You know that? But when you see them live, they go down, down, down. More balls, you know? You know, wow, down, down, down. You know, really giving it to you. You know, a lot more intense. You know, that was, and people were going, that's not, you know, like, they were expecting more flighty, you know, and they were playing with balls, you know, really hardcore, you know, really, really strong, especially the guitar, the sounds and the, you know, all the things that they do. I mean, I think Jimmy Page is probably the best to dance to as far as guitar solo. And who else do I like guitar solo? Grand Funk, that guy Mark Farmer, and Richie Blackmore. I really liked him. Thought he was so good to play guitar. But that's just what I liked. I mean, there's a lot of other great guitar players around.
Who was that guitarist you hang with in Bundina, man?
A guy called Ziggy and Marge. Ziggy lives up at up near Gympie. He's got his own farm up there. And Marge, they've separated now. That's a strange one. But they separated after about 30, 35 years, I think, 40 years. And she lives in Ocean Shores, which is Byron Bay area. New Brighton, Brunswick Heads. Yeah, he used to, we'd all sit around and have a good smoke. About me, Pam, Terry and his wife, that was my ex-school teacher, Ziggy, and a guy called Bernie McGann, and he's still known as the greatest saxophone player Australia's ever seen. He's a jazz player, wonderful player, and all the jazz musicians that know him, he's the muso's muso. He still is, and he used to go out and practice in the national park. He used to take his saxophone out there and play amongst the birds and the animals, and practice his tone, his sounds. He was very, very professional, very good. I used to take Terry and guys like Mark Rossiter, Diane, my girlfriend at the time, and we'd go to in town and see him play at the Just Soup or the Basement and stuff like that. And when we'd leave, we'd get up and shake his hand, and people were all looking at us, and he'd, you know, that was when he wasn't playing, you know, when it was another bracket going on. We'd get up, and when we were leaving, we'd shake his hand, and about four of us, and we'd all leave, and he'd go on. So it was good knowing him, you know, being his pal, you know, because we lived with him, we grew up with him. But he was sitting there too, but he didn't play music, but Ziggy was one of the best acoustic guitarists I ever seen or heard. He'd sit there after we got stoned, he'd play for about an hour, 40 minutes, 30 minutes, and he'd just dance, and we'd just sit there and memorise listen to this guitar, and he'd finish and we'd go, wow, that was so good, and you can't buy times like that. You just can't. They were really, really wonderful. Wonderful.
Did Ziggy play with any bands?
Oh yeah, he played in some bands. The big thing he did was they had rock musicals like Hair, Jesus Christ Superstar, and another one was Godspell. He was in Godspell. He was the bass player in Godspell. So he must have been good to get the gig as the bass player. So yeah, but boy, he could play guitar. That guy, he's wonderful. A really nice guy. Him and his wife were the ones that introduced me to macrobiotics. It's me, Johnny. I'm home.